There we go. G'day everyone, I'm Paul Stoner here, CEO Big and Scott, and I'm joined today by Daniel Ashton from our Elsternwick office, who is salesperson of the month for July. Welcome, Daniel, and congratulations.
Thanks, Paul. Can't shake your hand today, but I'll give you the elbow through the screen.
Yes, exactly. Mate, first of all, congratulations on July. Amazing month. The office, I know, was struggling through some of the shutdown, so you had to remotivate yourself and work out how to get the deals together. And how take us back through that, if you like. I know it's not a lengthy process, but take us back how you refocus to get the stock cleared.
Look, I don't think we ever lost focus, but our market seems to retreat. It has a habit of retreating when things go south. So I don't think that we necessarily lost any motivation. If I could use the analogy of throwing spaghetti against the fridge and seeing what sticks, not a lot was sticking in April and May and even June, but it started sticking again in July. So I think that's probably the best way I could put it to you.
Yeah, okay. So the market, so let's talk about that for a second. So they went into the freeze mode and then eventually got used to the conditions, or was just don't want to wait anymore?
Yeah, look, I think the initial shock at the end of March and April, when it all first unraveled and we got locked down and no one had ever been through anything like that before, was definitely a big shock to both buyers and to vendors.
Yeah.
So a combination of all of that, I think, really put the brakes on in April, May, and June. And as the months rolled on and people started to get used to what was going on, obviously helped along by the fact that I think through June and the start of July, we were able to get out and about a little bit more for that brief moment in time. People started to feel as though, okay, I'm going to get on with my life, and if that's to buy a property, well, that's what I'm going to do. From the vendor side of things, look, I mean they all shut up shop very quickly, and our lovely pipeline for May evaporated in front of our eyes in a couple of weeks. But of course those vendors as well weren't. They didn't simply, lose the motivation to sell. They said to us, look, if you can find a buyer at a price, we're happy to go. We just don't feel confident in, coming to market fully fledged with however, $8,000-$10,000 worth of marketing in the current environment. So there was a lot more off-market work that was happening, and a lot of that was suck it and see, a little bit spaghetti against the fridge, like I said. Once the confidence was starting to grow again with buyers, the prices that the vendors were asking started to become achievable, and those properties that were perhaps sitting around for a couple of months while there was a lot of uncertainty and that shock kind of wore off started to sell again.
Yeah, interesting. So do you think that the traditional methods of selling, or the traditional time that it's taken to sell, has changed in the short term?
Well, very much. I mean, we're an auction-based company primarily, and for the most part, that is not the recommendation right now. We are recommending private sale and trying to create some structure around an offer once we receive one that the vendor's happy to accept, and then put it to a best and final and create almost a tender process to kind of create that competitive tension around an acceptable offer, rather than just definitely going to auction, which obviously, as you know, we can only do online at the moment, and allowing buyers, I guess, to sit back on a screen a little bit like what we're doing right now, with no perceived pressure that the auction system is renowned for, and just kind of watch things flail about. So we've definitely changed our tact and recommendation on as an office as to what we're recommending, what we think is best for our clients.
You've obviously seen, we've all seen a downturn in available properties for sale or vendors. Has that filtered through to the buyers, or you've actually got a good, handful of buyers ready to go when the stock arrives?
Yeah, well, that's certainly what we saw through July, and that was, I guess, looked like it was going to continue on into August, but alas, 2020 has another twist and turn for us, and that is no inspections whatsoever for a period of time, whether that's the 6 weeks we could hope for, or potentially longer. So I guess we're sitting here today, waiting for the new norm again to hit and see what that means. But it feels like every time we get a bit of momentum, the goalposts are moved on us. So that's where we're sitting. But certainly in July, it felt as though there was good depth to buyers who wanted to transact, and they were paying very solid prices for property. We really haven't seen a massive change in price, no real downward pressure. And I think that's a direct reflection of the lack of stock, as you say. There really isn't a lot around for buyers to choose from. So the reality is, if they want to buy something and there's no choice, well, they have to buy what's there. And when there's a few of them around, then you end up getting into that competitive private sale arrangement that we've been going through, that tender arrangement of a best and final, and the prices are pretty respectable, I must say.
It's interesting. So we'll talk about the elephant in the room, which is the current lockdown. And
which side of the room is it on?
We're sitting right in the middle of it, I think. But so how have you prepared yourself? Have you gone into the first week of planning and getting used to things? Because this is not something that we've ever prepared for, we've ever trained for, or even thought was coming. So to get your head right and start working out how you're going to communicate with current or potential vendors and buyers, how are you finding that right now?
Oh, look, I mean, I think it's 1 week today that the lockdown started. So the first couple of days were definitely finding your feet, working out some teething issues with access to information from the office and talking to one another and working out new plans and goals for the day to give yourself some structure and keep some motivation. But look, I guess this week it feels like we're in a bit of a groove now of what we need to do. Obviously, the days look completely different to what they have done, or what they normally do. There's no inspections whatsoever. So we're really just focused on, I guess, using this time to get around to tasks that the busyness of a normal market normally take away from you, and really focus on relationship building and doing things which you always plan to do, and sometimes you get around to them, but sometimes you don't. So that's really what I'm trying to use the time for, is to get around to those tasks that are on the should list, not the must list, and actually keep building those relationships, talking to people about what their plans are post lockdown, and just collating a list of buyers and sellers who want to do something when we get out of this, whenever that is. And then we'll hopefully be able to hit the ground running when we do get out, and have a good list of prospects on both sides to work with.
And how are you finding the openness of the potential sellers and the buyers with these conversations during the lockdown period?
Look, I mean, I think it's probably not as productive as what you would normally expect. I think you've also got to be very careful about the language you're using and the scripts you're using in the current environment. I don't think it's the type of environment where you can just talk about business. A lot of the calls initially are just, how are you? How are you going? How's life treating you?
Yeah.
I think there's an element of care and just being a human that has to come into it to start with. I mean, if someone is relatively unaffected by what's going on and business is good and they're happy to talk about real estate, then that's maybe something that you get into later in the conversation. But I think the first thing is simply, how are you? Are you okay? I mean, is everything all right for you and the family and so on? I think, I think starting with, do you want to do something real estate wise is probably a little brazen for the current conditions.
Yeah. Well, look, there's so no surprise why you've been doing so well. This is a steep learning curve for all of us, how we communicate, and as you say, communicating about the right things, being human first, it's just so important, because to have that relationship from the start of a sale and get to the sale is so important, that people believe that you are a good human being that just happens to be in real estate. That's always been the goal of Biggin and Scott. So, mate, congratulations. You're consistently in the top 3, and you're always knocking on the door. You're very humble. You stay humble, and that's a good thing. Feel free to call me anytime if you need someone to have easy dialogue with you too. It is important.
If I keep getting a row of people that don't want to talk to me and rejections, then I might have to give you a call, Paul, just to get a bit of support.
Exactly. I'll be happy to hear from you anytime. Daniel, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's actually funny. Usually we don't know how long we go for, and I'm looking at the screen. It's got the clock on there, and somehow we always let it pump out. It's amazing. But you're doing a great job as always. Hope everything works out well with the family, and we'll see you very soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Daniel. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Bye.